Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Courtside here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, on the campus of Piedmont International University. It's time for tonight's doubleheader matchup featuring the Lady Bruins from Piedmont International against the Wildcats from Johnson and Wales down in Charlotte, North Carolina in game one of tonight's doubleheader. And then on the other side in the men's game, it'll be the Bruins looking to get to 12-9 on the season, coming off the win over Appalachian Baptist College, taking on the Centurions from Carolina Christian College from just down the road here in Winston-Salem in a rematch of a very, very entertaining basketball game that ended under very controversial circumstances. But now we're going to pause here to take a listen to our national anthem, and then on the other side, we'll get you the starting lineups for tonight's matchup.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hillcrest Civic Center here on campus of Piedmont International University for the matchup between Johnson, Wales and
Rage. 1, 2, rage. 1, 2.
Terrific rendition of our national anthem as we get set for game number one of tonight's doubleheader. It's time now to take a look at our starting lineups for tonight's matchup, brought to you by Smoothie King of Winston-Salem. Starting first for the visitors tonight, it is the Wildcats from Johnson and Wales from down in Charlotte, North Carolina. 17-4 on the season under head coach Jennifer King. Their starting lineup will be number 4, Bianca Covington, a 5'4" junior. Number 14, Chase Muhammad, a 5'8" freshman. Number 20, Vandaria Shackelford in the starting lineup as well, a 5'8" senior. Jaquana Pauling also in the lineup today, number 22, a 5'10" senior. And then that is your starting lineup today for this Wildcat team, again under head coach Jennifer King. On the other side, for the Bruins from Piedmont International under head coach Caleb Money, just 4-7 on the season. And the last time they were in action was back on February 1st against this same Johnson and Wales team, coming up short. 79-51 was the final score in that one. As we take a look at the starting lineup now, number 1, Ashley Lane will be in the starting lineup, the 5'8" freshman. Number 2, Amaya Scott alongside her, another freshman standing at 5'10". And then the starting lineup rounded out up front by number 20, Monifa Engel, a 5'11" junior. Number 22, Arian Rumpf, the 5'10" freshman, and number 24, Zanaya Kessler, the 6-foot sophomore. Corey, as we look towards tonight's matchup here between this Lady Bruins team and the Wildcats, you saw that despite the record for the Wildcats, this is a fairly competitive game for 3 quarters between these two teams. This is still a very young Piedmont program, but they've made real strides since really the first of the year. They've had some opportunities to beat some good teams. This is a team that's very much trying to improve itself here as they come down the stretch.
And there's a benefit here for the Lady Bruins with the last game out being against this same club. They've had a good 2 weeks to prep for this rematch here, whereas J&W has had a multitude of games between now and then. And now they've won them all between the meeting on the 1st in Charlotte and tonight here in Winston-Salem. But they are a more road-weary, well-traveled club, J&W. Piedmont has had 2 weeks to game plan for this rematch here. And you're right, the first 3 quarters were very tight-knit and hard-nosed. Expected to see something similar here tonight.
Bruins in the home whites, trimmed in the powder blue and gray, moving from right to left across your computer screen, smartphone, tablet, television. However you're accessing us today on the Bruins Sports Network from Carolina Sports Live. The visiting Wildcats from Johnson & Wales in the road blue jerseys with the white trim and the yellow numerals moving from left to right. It will be Hankerson and Kessler set to jump things up in the first game of our doubleheader. I'm Dave Shook, he's Corey Glore. Mason Cox is our engineer, and we are ready for game 1 of tonight's doubleheader and what should be an entertaining night of basketball here in Winston-Salem, capped off by the Twin City Classic, Part 2, between the Centurions from Carolina Christian College and the Bruins, coming up here in just a little bit after this one is done. The officials making sure all of our equipment is in order. I don't think they want that big fan on, although it would make for some good jokes if anybody hits an air ball at some point later on tonight on that end of the floor.
That giant fan on the right corner of the court was a little bit too close to the baseline for the officials. It was on because it can get rather warm in this gym, but that is more of a hazard than the officials would like to see at the moment.
So again, Hankerson and Kessler set to jump things up as the officials give us the all clear. 10 minutes up on the clock for this first quarter. Second meeting of the season between these two as the tap is won by the Wildcats, and they'll start things out with Pauling. Moving from left to right, pulls up for the jumper from the wing from 18 feet, hits off the back of the rim, scramble for the loose ball, and it's pulled down by Ashley Lane and the Bruins, now who will get their first possession, try to get on the scoreboard first. Lane and Amaya Scott have been the stalwarts for this team as Scott drives the lane, drops it off underneath, pass was deflected but got to angle, manages to save the possession. 15 on the shot clock, far corner, open 3 on the way for Kessler. Tried to bank it in, no good, but an offensive rebound is Rump doing what she does, clearing out space and pulling in the loose ball. Tried to kick it out to the top, but lost the handle on it. It's going to be a travel as the Wildcats fall on top of the basketball out towards the midcourt logo. And the Bruins will keep it with a fresh shot clock, still no score, just about 30 seconds in.
Piedmont will want to slow this game down tonight with a well-traveled team and a team that can get up and down the floor and score almost at will. Maximize your possessions and reloads are going to be key.
Kessler makes the catch down low, can't put the bank shot in. Second shot opportunity is up and good for Zanaya Kessler as the Bruins break the ice and get things started here in the early going. Back the other way for the Wildcats. Muhammad tried to split through the double team at the top, lost the handle on the basketball, and it's taken away. 2-on-0 opportunity back the other way. Nice lead ahead pass by Scott, finding Kessler streaking down the middle of the floor, but the ball knocked away from her out of bounds. It'll stay with the Bruins, who lead this one 2-0 in the early going.
Getting quick shots from J&W's first 2 possessions, and it's been one and done as well. Piedmont will take that all night.
Lane looking to trigger the inbounds pass, but it's deflected and stolen away by Hankerson, using those long arms to knock that pass away as the Wildcats try to run back the other way. Bruins back defensively, though, as Scott knocks it away. Stay with the Wildcats, still looking for their first points, just a little bit more than a minute in. Shackelford will trigger the inbound. Like you mentioned, the pace of this game probably will dictate the outcome. The slower and more physical this game is played, particularly on the inside, it will favor the Bruins. The more up-tempo and the flashier this game looks, the probably advantage goes in the direction of the Wildcats. As driving it inside is Covington, manages to weave her way through a double team. Couldn't get the shot to go down, though. Coming down with the rebound for the Bruins was Angle, and then she is fouled in the backcourt by Covington, compounding one mistake with a second one. And now the Bruins will have the basketball and this 2-0 lead as the first foul on either team is committed against Bianca Covington for the Wildcats. Just about 90 seconds gone by as the Bruins will slow things down. Little 3-2 zone shown on this trip by the Wildcats as the Bruins now side to side. Good skip pass into the corner. An open 3 on the way from Amaya Scott. Hits off the front of the rim, but good position for the rebound for Kessler, who then has the ball knocked away on the shot block. And the Wildcats with possession will come back the other way. Covington into the forecourt is then tied up along the baseline and whistled for the travel. So a couple of turnovers against the Wildcats in the early going has given the Bruins some opportunities on the offensive end. We'll see a little bit of full court pressure this time as Scott right up against the sideline nearly stepped out, and then Kessler whistled for the travel anyway. Unfortunate there as the Bruins had an opportunity for what would have been an easy basket as Arian Rumpf had slipped out behind the pack there and would have had a layup.
She was the only one in the forecourt for Piedmont, and Piedmont nearly was able to find her, but a little bit of an unforced error.
Wildcats with the basketball again, still looking for their first points as we hit the 8-minute mark of this first quarter. Trying to drive it from the corner is Covington, double teamed though. Gets it down low inside for Hankerson, who forces contact and draws the whistle.
A little bit more persistent now for J&W on the last couple trips down, trying to work into the low block a little bit. That's why Piedmont has put in the zone here in this half-court set to try and keep that away from being a possibility there. But so far, Piedmont has been able to use this to their benefit.
6-foot sophomore Anisha Hankerson knocks down the first of two. Gets the first points of the ball game for the Wildcats. Now one more to come. Second one rolls off, and the rebound taken away by Engel. So the Bruins come back the other way, still leading by a point as Ashley Lane weaves her way into the forecourt, kicks it into the corner near side for Scott. Scott wildly throws it up at the rim, caught nothing but air, and the loose ball taken out of the air by Shackelford. Shackelford with a 2-on-2 opportunity finds Covington on the wing, who wisely steps out with it. Now will attack and get shut off right at the free throw line. Finds Hankerson and then has the ball taken away by Scott. Scott all the way inside, right-handed layup, falls in. Good strong drive by Amaya Scott, was a little bit out of control, but found a way to drop it in there. Makes it 4-1 in favor of the Bruins with 7:20 left to play in this first quarter.
She was contacted too. It's why she let it go a little bit earlier than she would have liked, but got the roll.
Three-pointer on the way from the near wing is no good for Shackelford, then hit off the top of the glass. Rebound taken away by Amaya Scott. And now the Bruins doing a good job defensively in this early part of the first quarter. Come back the other way with a 4-1 lead. Scott, at the urging of head coach Caleb Money, gets it across the timeline before the 10-second count. Skips it into the corner behind a screen for Kessler. Down low inside, a nice ball moving for Rumpf. Kicks it into the far corner now. A three on the way, hits off the back of the rim for Engel. And the ball out of bounds back over to the Wildcats. Really good ball movement, though, that time for the Bruins. Got a clean look at a three for Engel. Just didn't go down.
And it's been most of the trips down the floor for Piedmont where the ball movement has been stellar. They're keeping the ball in motion. No one's really stopping with it and letting the off-ball movement start. They're just keeping the ball floating around the horn. And that has allowed for these open shots in the corners, even if they haven't fallen.
Maya Scott will get a seat on the bench, and into the game for the first time will come Sophie Barnes, the senior, the lone upperclassman on this team for the Bruins. As the Wildcats looking for their first three-pointer of the game. Muhammad off the front of the rim, and the rebound taken away underneath the basket by Rumpf, and then Rumpf is fouled while trying to free herself from the clutches of Anisha Hankerson. Get a reach-in foul, though, against Hankerson. First on her, second on the team.
Tell you what, Dave, these officials are letting play go for the most part, as there has been a good amount of physical play between these two and not a lot of whistles blown.
Bruins able to break the full court pressure for the Wildcats. Had an opportunity potentially for what would have been an easy basket, but the ball thrown out of bounds by Monifa Engel, trying to find Sophie Barnes for what would have been a layup, but instead we'll go back the other way.
Sophie cut a little bit too close to the basket there, and I think she thought Rumpf was right behind her and maybe was the receiver of that pass, and so there was a little bit of confusion between the two. Wound up splitting the two of them and out of bounds.
3-2 zone again for the Bruins on this defensive trip as the Wildcats trying to get it down low. Low block for Hankerson. Turns around with a little step back jumper. Might have gotten away with a little bit of contact, did the Bruins defensively that time, as the shot comes up with nothing but air. Nothing to blame that on, certainly with the fan now off on that baseline. They'll say the last touch was out off the Bruins, though, and so the Wildcats will keep that.
So they'll say that Shackelford actually got a block on that shot, but she wound up, or they're going to say Engel got the block on that shot on Shackelford, but instead it should have been a foul call.
Quickly inbounded down low underneath for Pauling, who misses the layup in close. Offensive rebound and a putback opportunity for Muhammad is no good, but she's fouled, and she'll go to the free throw line. Harris into the game for the first time for the Wildcats, wearing number 42. And at the free throw line, Chase Muhammad. First points of the game for the Wildcats, only points of the game for the Wildcats have come at the free throw line as Muhammad misses the front end here. Make it 1 of 3 at the line now for Johnson and Wales. Second free throw good. So 4-2 is our score with 6:08 left to play in this first quarter. It's again the Bruins able to successfully break this Wildcat pressure and get a run out back the other way for Arian Rumpf, who lays it up and in with the left hand, and the freshman has her first basket, and it's 6-2. Now the Wildcats trying to quicken the pace a little bit, is barreling into traffic as Muhammad. It's going to be a blocking foul against Ashley Lane, as Muhammad just a little bit out of control that time, just kind of throwing her body into Lane and drawing the whistle in the contact.
Tell you what, if you would have asked Caleb Money before the game if you were going to hold this offense that averages 76 points a night without a bucket for the first 4 minutes of the game, he would have gladly taken it.
Maya Scott back into the game for the Bruins on this trip as Muhammad tees up a three from the corner and knocks it in. First field goal of the ball game for the Wildcats, cuts the Bruin lead to 1 at 6-5. Ashley Lane working against strong defense from Covington, spins away from the double team into the lane, draws contact, hits the deck, and draws the whistle as well, as Lane a little bit slow to get up, but looks like she's okay, and she'll go to the free throw line for a pair.
You're seeing Piedmont being able to bring the ball up the floor with really no issue right now, despite a little bit of full court pressure being put on over the last couple of minutes. This is what 2 weeks to prepare for a team like this can bring you after you saw them in Charlotte 2 weeks ago and knowing they were next up on your schedule. Being able to practice this for 2 full weeks, breaking a full court press, getting the transition game going. Now we're starting to see the dividends paying off here to start this one.
Lane misses the front end of 2, and we'll get a substitution for the Wildcats as Jada Morgan makes her first appearance, the 5'9" sophomore, into the game for the first time tonight. Second free throw for Ashley Lane is good. First point of the game for Lane. Lead is up to 2 for the Bruins at 7-5. 5:30 left to play in this first quarter. In the corner on the far side of the floor is Morgan. Gets it back now from Muhammad. Tees up a three from the wing. Hits off the front of the rim. Lane all over the rebound for the Bruins. A little bit of trouble maintaining the possession, but comes down with it, and the Bruins will come back the other way and get into their set. As Lane handling at the top, uses the screen from Rumpf, tries to drive it into the corner, has the pass deflected coming back to the top for Cumberbatch, who just checked in. Saved it inbounds, but right into the hands of Morgan, who lays it in with the left hand.
And Kiara Lloyd tried to save that one, the scores table. That was going to be Piedmont ball, and she just let that one go out of bounds, but she tried to make the effort play, and it winds up being a tie game.
Lane at the top for the Bruins as the game is now tied at 7. Trying to lob it down low for Rumpf. Pass deflected off the backboard. Able to save it, though, as it comes all the way back out to Scott. Down to 12 on the shot clock as Scott will try to go to work with the crossover. Gets in the lane, puts up the floater, no, and it's going to be an offensive foul as well. So Scott called for barreling over the defender underneath the basket. Chase Muhammad picks up her second.
You like the aggression there from Amaya, but once she got into the lane, there were nothing but blue shirts around her, and so she wanted to avoid making contact and picking up her second foul, but she wound up kind of being a little bit too out of control, and the acceleration was a little bit too much for her to slam the brakes on.
Just the first foul against Scott, not the second. Fourth team foul in the half against the Bruins, or in the quarter rather, I should say, against the Bruins. As the Wildcats come back the other way looking for their first lead. Nice dump down pass inside for Harris, who's bumped and fouled. And Harris, with the 5th foul committed against the Bruins, will head to the free throw line, and she'll get a pair. The 6-foot freshman, Decasia Harris. First one on the way is off the front of the rim, but drops in. Friendly roll in Winston-Salem for Harris as we get a couple of subs. Anaya Kessler returns, as does Monifa Engel for the Bruins.
And Ashley Lane has to check out as she picks up her second foul. That's an early storyline that has developed now for the Bruins.
Rumpf will join her on the bench as the second free throw hits off the front of the rim and does not fall in for Harris. But nevertheless, the Wildcats with their first lead of the ball game at 8-7. Under 4 minutes and 20 seconds left to go in this first quarter as Scott moves it into the corner. Angle, skip pass near side for Barnes. Trying to get it down low. Pass thrown away, though. Trying to find Cumberbatch under the basket was Kessler, but threw about a 90-mile-an-hour fastball right by the chin of Cumberbatch, who tells her to slow it down a little bit. Out of bounds back over to the Wildcats. Bruins not in position defensively, just teeing up an open three. That time with Shackelford. Caught the back rim, and now a weak side rebound and a run out for Scott. Gets a full head of steam, drives the lane, too strong off the window. The rebound pulled away by Harris, and then a reach-in foul on Scott, and that will be Scott's second. And so that puts the duo in the backcourt for the Bruins in some early foul trouble, as both Scott and Lane both with a pair now. And that's going to cause Coach Caleb Money to take a timeout, just a 30-second timeout. On the other side of that timeout, we'll have 2 free throws coming for Euphrasia Harris and a chance to extend this lead for the Wildcats. So after a good start for the Bruins, particularly on the defensive end, one that didn't bear a lot of fruit offensively, but they did have the lead, things have gone stagnant on both ends now, and the Wildcats with a chance to open up a 3-point lead here at the line when we come back.
Starting to see the game quicken more than Piedmont would like. They're still playing extremely well defensively in the half court, but now J&W is starting to put the pedal down a little bit more, and now they're getting back defensively in transition, which was something they weren't able to do in the first couple of minutes of this one. So you're seeing a little bit more of a frantic decision making for Piedmont on the offensive side. It's why you're seeing the ball moving a little bit more quicker than they would like. It's why you're seeing drives to the basket with really nowhere to go, so you put up wild shots. Now J&W sort of sees the tempo of this one. That's why they've jumped in front.
Harris, though, misses the first of 2 off the front of the rim. Now 1 of 3 at the line for her in this first quarter. And this is another theme you can sense as the Wildcats are getting to the free throw line consistently, not making those. Harris misses both here. Keeps the deficit at 1 for the Bruins.
It is a team that just shoots 66% from the free throw line.
Bruins with the basketball, trailing by a point. Good cut along the baseline by Kessler. Misses the layup in tight. Loose ball comes all the way into the corner. Wildcats able to save it. Now they've got numbers back the other way. A 4-on-3. Putting her head down and driving the lane is Shackelford, who's bumped on the way by, and that's on Amaya Scott. That's her third. As Coach Money, I think, took a calculated risk, had to leave one of either Scott or Lane on the floor with 2 fouls. And Scott picks up the third in this first quarter. And Coach Money can do nothing but walk from one end of the bench to the other in frustration. But at the free throw line again, the struggles continue as Shackelford misses the first.
That storyline that we mentioned about 90 seconds ago is now a severe problem for Caleb Money. To have one in your backcourt with 3 fouls, that almost negates her for the rest of the half. And you have to go with Ashley Lane, who already has 2. That is going to be a severe problem, and strategy is going to have to be concocted pretty quickly here for Caleb Money on how to navigate through this, because now Lane cannot pick up her 3rd foul in this half. Otherwise, it is dire straits here for the Bruins early.
Still 3.5 minutes left to play in this first quarter. Shackelford made 1 of 2 at the line for the Wildcats. 9-7 is our score. As Ashley Lane at the top for Kessler. Behind a screen, launches a 3. It's way off to the right. Kessler hits the deck. Scramble for the loose ball. Barnes comes out of there with it. The smallest player on the floor for the Bruins, who get a reset. Trying to drive it inside is Cumberbatch. Tried to split a double team. Gets tied up inside. Possession arrow favors the Bruins, so they will keep it. No reset of the shot clock.
And when Cumberbatch started to drive, she brought the wing defender in with her. That created the double team, and that meant Engel was wide open on the right wing for an open shot, or at least to keep that possession moving a little bit more.
Barnes will sit on the bench. Rumpf will return. So a very big lineup out there right now, almost 4 forwards essentially for the Bruins. So Coach Money kind of going with some unorthodox lineups to try and counterbalance the fact that his backcourt is currently riddled with foul trouble.
And the shot clock reset after the miss there by Kessler, even though it shouldn't have, so it's a quick 5 seconds now.
Cumberbatch to Kessler. Kessler got to be aware of the shot clock. Finally gets off the 3. Does Lane caught the backboard. And so that'll be a shot clock violation against the Bruins. And the Wildcats will get it back and a chance to extend this lead, leading by 2 under 3 minutes to play in the first quarter.
It's just a lack of recognition there by the 5 Bruins on the floor. Lane realized it, but no one else seemed to be aware that the shot clock changed to 5 there.
Baseline jumper from about 18 feet out for Jada Morgan is up and through. 11-7 now the score in favor of the Wildcats, with 2:40 left to play in this first quarter.
She had a couple words for Zanaya Kessler on the way back down the floor, saying, "I don't think you can guard me anymore."
Cumberbatch for Lane on the far wing, tries to drive it inside. Right-handed scoop shot, no, but a foul. Clearly got whacked on the way by Kaya Lloyd, I believe it was. And that'll be 2 at the line for Ashley Lane, and a chance to put some much-needed points on the board for this Bruins team.
It has been a good 3.5 minutes since Piedmont has been able to put a point on the board here.
So 2 at the line for Lane, who is 1 of 2 at the stripe thus far in this first quarter. First one on the way, a little bit too hard and off to the left. Sherletta Hackett checking in for the first time for the Bruins, and out of the game will go Alicia Cumberbatch. One more at the line for the freshman Lane. Second one on the way is up and through, so Lane splits the pair again. She has 2 in the game. Lead cut to 3 for the Wildcats at 11-8 as they come back the other way. Trying to lob it down low for Hankerson, who makes the catch. Goes cross to Wallace, and Wallace drives it in from the right side and lays it in to make it 13-8.
It's great recognition by the Wildcats as they put isolation on Ashley Lane on the right-hand side, and she can't play that hard-nosed defense with 2 fouls.
Teeing up an open 3. They'll say 2 actually for Monifa Engel. Had a foot on the line. Make it 13-10. First field goal in a while for the Bruins, and then a turnover for the Wildcats. Gives the ball right back to the Bruins, who have a chance to get within 1 or tie the game with a 3. 13-10 is our score with 1:59 left to play in this first quarter. Ashley Lane into the forecourt with the basketball. Behind the screen, Hackett trying to get to the baseline for Kessler, couldn't get it there. Instead finds Lane far wing into the corner. Open 18-footer for Engel is no good off the front of the rim. And the rebound taken away by the Wildcats who want to push it back the other way. Lloyd all the way to the paint. Nobody stops her. Throws it up wildly, no good. Muhammad all over the offensive rebound, but then is tied up on the floor. Possession arrow this time will favor the Wildcats, so they will keep it with 21 on the shot clock and 1:34 left to play in this quarter as Shackelford will return for the Wildcats and Lloyd will exit.
The substitutions have been extremely frequent here in this first quarter. There's a lot of depth for Jennifer King to work with on this Wildcats team, and they have been using it pretty frequently here.
Back to play is the Wildcats with the jumper from 18. That's no good off the front of the rim by Morgan, or the back of the rim rather, I should say, by Morgan. And the loose ball taken away by the Bruins. Will come back the other way with Ashley Lane. Sophie Barnes back into the game for the Bruins as well as Lane puts up the jumper just inside the free throw line. That's no good. Coach Money throws his hands to the sky and asks why. As the Wildcats get a run out back the other way, Wallace misses the layup and Kessler with a rebound. Now things get frantic as the Bruins want to run back the other way. Kessler, though, stops on the far wing and brings it back to the top for Lane, who tells everybody to slow things down.
Come on, girls, play smart.
1 minute even left to play in this first quarter. Still 13-10 in favor of the Wildcats as Lane uses the screen from Rumpf to the far side for Kessler. Kessler looking for somewhere to go, comes to the near corner for Barnes, who couldn't make the catch on the high fastball that time from Kessler. Drops it out of bounds on the baseline, and the ball will go back over to the Wildcats. 47.8 on the game clock. As the Wildcats come back the other way with Morgan on the near wing, trying to get it inside. Instead, kicks it into the corner for Shackelford. Back into the hands of Morgan, lob it over the top. Little high-low game, perfectly done to Hankerson, who lays it in.
Just was able to shuck off Hackett there down low and roll right to the bucket. That was a nice bit of ball movement there by J&W.
Maybe a half-second difference game to shot clock. 20 on the game clock right now. Trying to drive it inside is Rumpf. Finds Hackett driving down the lane, kicks it in the corner, far side for Hackett. Comes back to the top for Lane, will fire a contested 3. Hits off the back rim. Wildcats all over the miss. Now with 10 seconds left, they've got an opportunity for one more basket. Trying to drive it inside is Wallace, throws it up wildly, no good. The rebound for a moment was controlled by the Bruins, but Rumpf not able to save it. It's out of bounds on the baseline. Back to the Wildcats with 2.2 on the game clock and a 5-point lead. 15-10 is our score. Muhammad will throw it in on the baseline. Muhammad quickly inside for Wallace. Wallace got her shot rejected. And the game clock will expire here in this first quarter. Nice job by Zanaya Kessler. Got the shot block there at the last possible moment on Wallace to preserve just the 5-point deficit at 15-10. So 15-10 is our score at the end of the first 10 minutes of play. We'll take a timeout when we come back. The second quarter is on the way after this here on the Bruins Sports Network from Carolina Sports Live.
Yeah. Low. Yeah. 360 in the contract. Never that. I just take the contact. I bring it back. I'm running on the fast break. Behind the back. Yeah, this that penny with the shack.
If he's passing me the rock, it might not get it back. They never gave a hand, now they wanna give me that. I don't know where you been. I got fear of God, ain't no fear of man. These them air minios, yeesh, need a pair of them.
LA, man, LA, I can't stand the traffic. West side for the vacation. Yeah, Westbrook on the isolation.
Yeah. So New York City gotta keep it Mickey Mantle, the bubble jacket with the periwinkle camo, From Argentina, it's a military issue, And Lloyd said don't mix the pitbull with the shit, so don't.
Back to play here in Winston-Salem on the campus of Piedmont International, where the Bruins trail Johnson and Wales by 5 at 15-10. Ashley Lane running the point guard duties for this Bruins team. Stops at the free throw line. Open jumper on the way is no good for Kessler. Offensive rebound by Barnes for a second time in this game, though, and then she's tied up. Barnes, again, the smallest player on the floor, able to come up with an offensive rebound for the second time tonight. The jump ball arrow, though, favors the Wildcats, and they'll get it back. Wildcats with the basketball is down low inside again. Is Hankerson, gets good position, misses the shot. Rump takes the rebound right off her fingertips. And the Bruins catch a break right there as Hankerson continues to just carve out space underneath the basket on that low block.
Oh, that was Nia Kessler again, who got a hand on the basketball there for the second straight possession.
Rump at the top, plays catch with angle, trying to find somebody along the baseline. Instead, they go to Lane on the wing. Now down low for Rump, who wheels across the lane. Got her shot rejected by Hankerson. Came right back out to Angle at the top. No reset of the shot clock, just 5 to shoot as Angle comes to the far side of the floor for Lane, and then Lane bumped by Covington in what was a very silly foul with 4 on the shot clock. And for her trouble, she'll get a seat on the bench, and back into the game will come Morgan for the Wildcats. Reset of the shot clock back to 30. Kessler will trigger the inbound. And now Lane will walk it across the timeline. Just about a minute gone by in this second quarter as Lane puts her head down with a right-hand dribble into the corner for Kessler. Good little shoulder shake, draws 3 defenders. Kick out for Lane, jumper off the front of the rim, and the rebound taken away by the Wildcats. Long lead-ahead pass into the hands of Pauling, who was out ahead of the crowd. Pass a little bit behind her, though, and skims off her fingertips and out of bounds. And the Bruins, again, for the second time in as many trips down the floor in the second quarter, catch a break defensively.
Yeah, and that was a couple of bigs that were on the break there for the Wildcats. Probably not the 2 that Jennifer King usually wants with the ball in their hands, trying to run a fast break there.
Lane with the basketball again for the Bruins, uses the screen from Rump. Far side for Kessler with the weave up top for Angle. Down low inside, trying to get it to Rump, but the Wildcats kind of boxing her in, and the ball overthrown and taken away by the Wildcats. Muhammad speeds it into the forecourt, speeds it into the lane, and then is fouled on her way to the basket.
There's a second gear with Chase Muhammad that we're starting to see in action over the last couple of minutes of game time. Tied for the team high in scoring, leads multitudes of categories for J&W offensively, and she also is kind of a straw that stirs the drink when the ball's in her hands as well.
The proverbial afterburners for Muhammad that time. Makes the first of 2 here, extends the lead to 6 at 16-10, largest lead of the game now for the Wildcats, and makes the second as well to make it 17-10. So the Bruins continuing to struggle on the offensive end, trailing by 7 right now, and dealing with major foul trouble as well. Not exactly a recipe for success as Lane on the far wing thought about a 3, instead moves it on to the baseline for Angle. Back to the top for Kessler. Kessler shut off as she tried to drive the lane, handed it off on the weave for Lane. Drops it off for Rump, pulls up for the jumper from the wing, just inside the wing. Misses off the front of the rim, and the rebound taken away by Muhammad. Wildcats will push back the other way. Muhammad again, kicks it onto the baseline. Open jumper on the way, hits off the back of the rim for Morgan, and the rebound taken away by Rump and the Bruins.
The ball movement just hasn't been as crisp ever since Kayla Money has had to go with both Lane or Scott, one of them on the bench and one on the floor with foul trouble.
Rump from the free throw line finds an open Angle for 3. That hits off the side of the rim. Rebound taken away by the Wildcats, who have a run out back the other way as Pauling misses the layup. Nearly got her own miss back. Now picks it up. Pulls up for the jumper from 16. That's no good. Barnes corrals the miss for the Bruins. What a weird sequence that was that time, as almost everybody kind of given up on the play, assuming Pauling would make the layup. When she missed it, everybody suddenly scrambled back into play. Pauling comes up with the miss and then turns around and misses a longer jumper. And the Bruins again dodge a bullet as Kessler from the wing drives it inside, spins it off the glass, no good. Got her own miss back on the deflection, forces it up a second time, no good. This time it's Rump with the offensive rebound, wheels around the paint, puts it off the glass and in.
What a strange sequence over the last minute there for these two clubs, where it looked like an easy bucket for J&W and then just a mind gaff on the other end. Piedmont's able to recalculate it. Then on their third offensive opportunity on the other end, finally gets a bucket.
Timeout for Coach Caleb Money. It's a full, so we'll take it as well. 17-12 is the score in favor of Johnson and Wales, with 6:49 left to play here in the first half on the Bruins Sports Network from Carolina Sports Live.
1, 2, 3, bang, bang!
Sacrifice. Ambition. Loyalty. Pride. Drive. Unity.
That's what it takes to be a Bruin.
One, two, three, bang, bang!
Back in Winston-Salem, Dave Shook and Corey Glore as the Bruins come up with a steal right out of the timeout after they'd cut this deficit to 5 at 17-12, and now looking to get even closer as Lane into the far corner for Kessler. Comes around the screen from Lane, pulls up at the free throw line, jumper on the way, skims off the side of the rim. Offensive rebound by Rumpf, goes with the reverse, no good. And then fighting for her own miss back is whistled for the reach-in foul as the jacket comes off for Coach Caleb Money. Momentarily, it looks like it's going to go back on. Maybe not. Not happy with the foul behind the play on Rumpf. Second on the team, her first, with 6:14 left to play in this first half. Down low inside for Morgan, kick it far side, an open three on the way for Muhammad. Hits off the back of the rim, offensive rebound battled for, taken away by Hankerson, forces it up with contact. No good, but a foul, and again, Hankerson. It's so often we watch these Lady Bruins play, and it's Rumpf and Engel who do such a good job of being more physical than the opposing bigs, but in this case, they're having a real hard time keeping Hankerson away from the basketball in these rebounding situations. This time, she fights her way to the free throw line. Yeah,
she averages a double-double and nearly got that when these two met in Charlotte a couple weeks ago, but she is making her presence very much felt. It took a little bit as Piedmont was really in control of the pace and especially the paint the first 4 minutes or so of this game. But ever since then, when the tempo cranked up, that has opened up Hankerson's ability to roll to the bucket and get inside position on those long misses that J&W has had, and she has kind of put her fingerprint on the game early right now.
Hankerson, though, an oper at the free throw line, so that keeps the deficit at 5, 17-12. That, by the way, the foul was on Rumpf. That's her second, joining two other Bruin players who have at least 2 fouls in this first half already, including Amaya Scott, who has 3 on the bench, and Ashley Lane, who is out there with 2. Behind the screen, top of the key, an open three for Kessler is up and through. Zanaya Kessler with her second field goal. This one is a 3 as the Wildcats not communicating on the switch that time on the screen. Cut the deficit to just 2 in the lane. Short little jumper is no good for Shackelford. Rebound taken away by Rumpf. Leads it ahead. Out in front for Kessler. Kessler off the window, no, but a foul. Zanaya Kessler has done a really nice job providing some energy for this Bruins team and also providing some scoring. She's got 5 in the game. That leaves the team and a chance to add to that. And if she can make both of these free throws, tie the game potentially.
Yeah, the offense is starting to run a little bit now through Kessler, with Scott dealing with foul trouble there and not able to play really a normal 2-guard lineup that Caleb Money would like to put out there. So Zanaya has come out there. She's been active on the fast break, great defensively underneath the bucket. And now she's starting to cash in with these jumpers as well.
Back into the game comes Charlotta Hackett. Barnes will sit as Kessler makes the first of 2. One more coming. High arching shot, hits off to the right of the rim, and the rebound taken away by the Wildcats. So the deficit now at 1, 17-16. A little 4-0 run for the Bruins to erase most of that deficit for the Wildcats. Skip pass into the far corner for Lloyd, who's whistled for a travel. Has a good job that time by Cumberbatch, closing out on the attempted 3-point shot that time by Lloyd. So the Bruins will get it back now, looking to retake the lead. They led for most of the first quarter. But the offense sputtered, and the Wildcats took control of the game, have led by as many as 7. In fact, it's a 6-0 run right now for the Bruins. Behind the screen at the top for Kessler. Thought about the 3, instead comes to Lane on the near wing. Skip pass back to the far wing for Rump, puts it on the deck with the left hand, wheels across the paint, throws it off the glass and in with a foul. Big time job by Arian Rump that time, driving it in from the wing. Kind of threw it up with the contact, somehow was able to bank it in to give the Bruins the lead. Arian Rump now with 6 in the game and a chance to make it 7. Chance to complete the 3-point play as Rump rattles that one in. It's a 9-0 run for the Bruins, who have retaken the lead at 19-17. 4:46 left to play in this first half. Lob it down low, trying to find Harris, pass too tall, taken away by the Bruins. So all of a sudden the Wildcats look a little out of sorts now, and the Bruins with a chance to widen their lead. They've led by as many as 4. 19-17 is our score right now. High post area for Cumberbatch. To the wing for Hackett, behind the screen for Lane. Tees up a 3 from the wing, is good! Ashley Lane with her first field goal. She's got 5, 22-17 the score. Back the other way, Wallace misses the jumper. Rebound, ping-ponging around in the lane, and then it's tied up in the painted area between Harris and Lane. The jump ball arrow favors the Bruins, and they will get it back, leading by 5 as we get a timeout. 30 seconds in length for the Wildcats and head coach Jennifer King, but what a response by the Bruins, Corey. Just as it looked like this game might fall into a familiar pattern from the first meeting in Charlotte, after the Bruins fell behind by 7, a 12-0 run now for the Bruins to open up their largest lead of the night at 5, 22-17.
Started with Zanai Kessler's activity on the offensive end. She's chipped in with a couple of blocks as well defensively, and then you're starting to see a little bit of unforced errors by J&W offensively, some sloppy turnovers, and this time Piedmont has been able to take those and cash them in with a plum, and now you're starting to see open jumpers being knocked down by the Bruins. They were getting open looks in the first quarter and not able to really capitalize on them. Now they are, and how about the play of Arian Rump here in this quarter as well? Just a couple of buckets, but she's gone essentially parallel with the baseline, driving past the bucket, flipped up a couple of shots and gotten them to drop. The last one with an and one as well. She's starting to put her presence into really the high post area and getting some buckets to fall.
Out of the timeout, Bruins with the basketball and a 5-point lead as Monifa Angle back into the game, finds Cumberbatch at the top. 18 on the shot clock, skip pass into the corner for Lane, drives wildly, throws it up, no, and an offensive foul, and that is a huge foul against the Bruins as Lane picks up her 3rd personal. Matching the 3 that Amaya Scott has. Wildcats back the other way, into the lane for Harris. Pass deflected, comes right back into the hands of Muhammad. Drives the lane wildly, tries to spin it off the glass, too strong. Rebound for the Bruins. Lane back the other way, he's got to watch herself. Pulls up at the free throw line wisely. Jumper off the back of the rim, no. Rebound taken away by the Wildcats momentarily for Lloyd. And then a reach-in foul is going to go against Barnes. And that will get a substitution as Lane will exit. And back into the game with 3 fouls comes Amaya Scott.
And I'll tell you what, Dave, we've seen a lot more called with no foul in this game than what we just saw there between Barnes and Morgan. Morgan really baited that foul call there, ripping the ball away from Barnes, and she didn't even look like she made much contact with the arm. She was grabbing the basketball, but then a little bit of a sell job there by Morgan. There's another foul there on Piedmont.
That's the 5th in the quarter and the 1st on Barnes. So the Wildcats now shooting at the free throw line as Lloyd makes the first. First points of the game for the 5'6" freshman, Kiara Lloyd. As Barnes will sit and Kessler, after a short breather, will return.
Yeah, I think Coach Money wanted to give Kessler a little bit more time on the bench, but then the 3rd foul from Lane
Second free
changed all
throw,
that.
no good that time for the Wildcats, but an offensive rebound. And a shot from the corner is up and good for Jacana Pauling. Just a 2-pointer with a foot on the line.
Kayla Money can't believe it as the buzzer sounded, thinking that free throw was going to go in. J&W wanted a substitution there for Lloyd after the make, but once that buzzer sounded, everyone stopped, and that opened the jumper from the left corner.
Away from the basketball, an offensive foul, and I think they got it on Amaya Scott, and if that's the case, that's her 4th. And Coach Money, again, just with his hands to the sky, wondering what is going on.
The last 45 seconds have been just a huge plummet here for Piedmont.
22-20 the score. Free throw line jumper from Pauling is no good. Offensive rebound, Hankerson with the putback ties the game. And after the 12-0 run by the Bruins, 5 straight back the other way for the Wildcats to tie the game at 22. Scott with the basketball, playing with 4 fouls, drives it into the lane. Outside for Cumberbatch at the free throw line, has to get rid of it again. Scott, far side for Engel, skip pass into the corner, near side, Rumpf will tee up an open 3, off the back of the rim. Kessler's got the rebound, double team, but manages to maintain possession, and a fresh shot clock as they come back to the top for Scott, who's whistled for traveling. I'm not sure about that.
She didn't have the basketball in time to travel there, and so that was almost a prediction call by the official on the far sideline that she would travel.
Game tied at 22 with 2:28 left to play in this first half, in a game that has featured quite a bit of momentum swings through the first 18 minutes or so. Trying to lob it down low for Hankerson, who had good position. Coming in from behind was Engel to knock the ball away. They got a piece of Hankerson as well, and that'll put Hankerson at the free throw line, which, to be blunt about it, is probably not the worst thing in the world, as Hankerson is 0 at the free throw line, with the exception of the first one she took at the beginning of the game.
It's a 72% free throw shooter who struggled early on here tonight. It's worked so far here this evening, but those percentages don't lie, and eventually that should course correct.
Hankerson makes the first. Now has 1 more to come. Second one hits hard off the back of the rim, and the rebound to Kessler. Has some trouble pulling it in, but finally does, and hands it off for Cumberbatch. Scott will bring the ball into the forecourt, again playing with 4 fouls. That was the second foul against Engel on the previous trip for the Bruins. Engel with the basketball in the far wing, tries to go with a crossover. Ball was deflected, lob it down low for Rumpf, clears some space, got the shot deflected, and then the loose ball taken away underneath the basket by Hankerson, and then a reach-in foul that's going to go against Cumberbatch.
I tell you
Game
what,
has gotten increasingly physical.
The whistles are blowing with more frequency for a little bit of physicality that we were seeing much more of in the first quarter that was going pretty much uncalled. Rumpf got away with a push on the basket for sure, and then the foul is going to get flipped to Cumberbatch instead. Either way, this game has gotten more physical and slowed down a ton more here, and it's worked in J&W's favor after Piedmont was able to really take a surge here and climb back in front. Once Kessler checked out of the game, then this thing sort of flipped back to J&W, and then you had the foul on Ashley Lane to give her 3, and it has been nothing but problems now for the Bruins.
Fouls really piling up. At the second on Cumberbatch. Back into the game comes Engel as Hankerson makes both at the line, now with 8 points in the ball game. It is an 8-0 run to give the Wildcats a 3-point lead after the Bruins had put up a 12-0 run to take a 5-point lead. Wildcats have led by as many as 7. His Engel into the corner for Barnes. Back to Engel, goes away from the screen from Barnes. Moves it to the far wing for Kessler. Kessler with the up fake, drives to the baseline. Jumper from 15 is no good. Rebound taken away by the Wildcats. Back the other way is Muhammad. Good lead ahead pass for Shackelford. Shackelford hangs in the air off the window and scores. Good strong move that time by Vandaria Shackelford. Her first field goal, she's got 3 and the lead is 5. Make it a 10-0 run. 1:18 left to play in the half.
Timeout called by Jennifer King after that run by Piedmont has completely flipped this game around.
Maya Scott with the floater in the lane off the front of the rim. Got it right back. Second shot opportunity, no. Rebound battled for and taken away by Muhammad. 1 minute even left to play in the half. Back in transition, Shackelford right around Scott, who had to let her go. Lay it up and in with the right hand. Tough angle shot for Shackelford, who's got back-to-back layups on the break. And it's a 12-0 run and a 7-point lead, matching the largest of the game.
12-0 run traded for another 12-0 run.
Entry pass for Rumpf, makes the catch in traffic, then throws it away. Taken away by Pauling. 6-second difference, game to shot clock. Trying to drive it on the sideline, lost the basketball to Shackelford. Amaya Scott puts her hands up. Very fortunate to get away with what would have been her 5th personal foul.
And Scott kind of olayed right there, and it worked to the benefit because that confused Shackelford so much that she just dribbled it right off her foot and tumbled down.
Got a 4-second difference now, game to shot clock, with 24 on the game clock as Scott at the free throw line, tries to drive inside, gets knocked to the floor, and it's going to be a traveling violation, as they're going to say Scott fell of her own volition despite the clear contact on the play.
Not just contact, but a trip is what sends her to the ground as well. And the things that have been whistled over the last 3 minutes or so, how that one doesn't get called is beyond me.
What are you going to do? Shot clock is off, 15 seconds left to play in the half. Far wing with the basketball is Muhammad, who's been a real weapon in this game. Down low inside for Hankerson, who's been a bigger weapon. Not able to make the catch, though, was Hankerson as the ball rolls out of bounds on the baseline. And the Bruins will get it back for what could be the final shot of the half. 8.3 on the game clock.
Bruins need a bucket here to get back to some positive momentum heading into halftime.
Scott will just hold it with 2 seconds left, as I don't think the Bruins want to risk another turnover. And that will be the end of the first half. So the matching 12-0 runs in that first half moved from the Bruins being up 5 to down 7, matching their largest deficit of the night. 29-22 is the score. We'll have our halftime coverage coming up here in just a few moments on the Bruins Sports Network from Carolina Sports Live.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win, and the others too.
Back here in Winston-Salem on the campus of Piedmont International University, where it is halftime with the Bruins trailing Johnson & Wales 29-22 is the score after the first 2 quarters of play. Dave Shook is here at courtside along with Corey Glore. Mason Cox is our engineer. Corey, a first half that saw a whole lot of momentum swings, a lot of peaks and valleys. Bruins got off to a great start in the game. The Wildcats then answered back, able to take a 7-point lead. That was followed by a 12-0 run by the Bruins, followed by a 12-0 run by the Wildcats to take the 7-point lead into halftime. Peaks and valleys were the order of that first half.
Yeah, the metronome keeps going back and forth in that first half. And what's facing Piedmont now is that when they're able to get that surge, they were able to get it. Was Anaya Kessler really being kind of activating the offense from the wing. She knocked down a couple of buckets, did some great work defensively there, and that was able to kind of stave the tide of the foul trouble in the backcourt with Amaya Scott out of commission most of the second quarter with 3 fouls. Ashley Lane was playing with 2, so it was Kessler who kind of took control of handling the offense, and Arian Rumpf got into the fold because of that. It was a little bit more of a low-high game that Piedmont was playing. Then once Lane picked up her 3rd foul, after that 12-0 run, things took a dark turn here for Piedmont. Amaya Scott came back in. We think picked up her 4th foul in the process. We never saw that flash up on the scoreboard, but if that's the case, then there is 20 minutes here that Coach Money has to navigate without getting 3 fouls on his 2 most important players. And that is quite a challenge here against a team like J&W that knows the weaknesses to attack, has won 9 in a row, and is ranked number 2 in the country for a reason.
And that also plays into the depth issue that the Bruins deal with, obviously, with a shorter bench right now. The Wildcats much more equipped to deal with that foul trouble should it pop up for them in this game. But when you're the Bruins and you have a fairly limited backcourt in terms of the numbers, it's a good group of guys when you talk about Amaya Scott or a good group of players in Amaya Scott and Ashley Lane. But when one or both of them is in major foul trouble, it really weakens you, because not only does it take away the ability to play them both at the same time, but you saw it on the defensive end of the floor at the end of that first half. They're basically become non-entities defensively because they can't defend the way they normally would, and that allowed, I think, was a big part of the reason for that 12-0 run at the end of the half there for the Wildcats.
Yeah, you're playing 4-on-5 and maybe even 3-on-5 at times. Let's not forget, Monifa Engel also has a couple of fouls, and Arian Rumpf has a couple as well, so it's starting to rack up down low too. I mean, this is an extremely aggressive team, the Wildcats are, and they will come right at you. And if they sense an advantage in terms of getting some good quality players off the floor, they're going to attack it. And that's what we've seen here as the backcourt has been almost wiped out of the fold completely here for PIU. They're going to come back into this ball game and make a charge here against the number 2 team in the nation. It's going to have to be with some smart, precise basketball. And again, like what we started off this broadcast with, slowing things down and maximizing the possessions. Well, this game has gone back and forth and helter-skelter there. It has very much worked against PIU. They're going to have to take 30 seconds of possession here, try and get the best look that they can, and go from there.
So that's how we got here after the first 20 minutes of action. We'll talk about some of the numbers in that first half, including all the leading scorers, coming up after this break right here on the Bruins Sports Network from Carolina Sports Live.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win, and the others too.
Over the past few years, Piedmont International University has been moving up the ladder in both state and national rankings in a variety of categories. I am excited to announce yet another award, as Piedmont was recently recognized for having one of the top 10 best online master's degrees in leadership in the entire United States. Other universities in the top 10 list include schools like Johns Hopkins University, Gonzaga University. An award like this does not come without an excellent curriculum, outstanding faculty, affordable tuition, and flexible online delivery that utilizes cutting-edge innovation and maximizes the use of technology and the internet. Piedmont's faculty are noted for their professional guidance and instruction, as well as their relational care for each and every student. Our students are the most important ingredient to the success of our leadership programs. And graduates of these programs are doing amazing things, as many have been recognized for their exceptional leadership as school administrators, ministry leaders, medical practitioners, military personnel, pastors, entrepreneurs, business leaders. Allow me to share just a few examples of what some of our leadership graduates are doing. The list includes the CEO of a major automobile manufacturing factory here in the United States, the chancellor of a nationally known public university, the National HR Director for a major grocery store chain, the administrators of a number of significant schools, and pastors of many key significant churches. Our graduates are demonstrating outstanding leadership in key roles across the country and all around the world, and we couldn't be more proud. Over the past few years, Piedmont International University has been...
Back here at courtside in Winston-Salem, 29-22 is the score in favor of the Wildcats. Just a couple of minutes away from the start of the second half. Dave Shook and Corey Glore with you here at courtside as we take a look at some of the numbers in that first half. Starting first for the Bruins, Arian Rumpf leading the way. She has 7 points to lead the Bruins. Anaya Kessler also in the scorebook has 6. Ashley Lane playing with the foul trouble has 5 points as well, and then a couple of players with 2 points each in Amaya Scott and Monifa Angle. On the other side for the Wildcats, the high concentration of scoring belonging to Anisha Hankerson, who finished with 8 first-half points, did a lot of her damage in that second quarter. Chase Muhammad also in the scorebook with 6 points, including 1 made three-pointer. 5 points in the ball game for Shackelford for the Wildcats, and then a couple of players with just 1 basket. Justice Wallace with 2. Jaquana Pauling also with 2. Jada Morgan actually has 4. And then Euphrasia Harris with a free throw, as well as Kiara Lloyd. So that rounds out the scoring. 29-22 is the score. Corey, very quickly, how about a couple of keys for the second half?
I think Piedmont's got to slow this down a little bit more, and that means run the half court. It's going to be tricky with likely just Lane or Scott on the floor at any particular time, and not the both of them. But you saw kind of the low-high action work to their benefit for a stretch in that second quarter where they got Kessler involved, they got Rumpf involved, even Monifa Angle was kind of working offensively along the baseline there. That's going to have to be the type of game they're going to have to play. It's not that large of a deficit to come back from here. It's just 7. That's 3 buckets that they've got to work off of here. And so you don't have to completely evaporate your game plan coming into this one. So if you can just run solid offense and take the shot clock down, then you should be able to find some good open shots and maximize your possessions. That's the way to climb back in.
All right, second half just a couple of minutes away. 29-22 is the score. The Wildcats leading the Bruins through the first 20 minutes of action. We'll have the next 20 minutes coming your way after this here on the Bruins Sports Network from Carolina Sports Live.
Up the ladder in both state and national rankings in a variety of categories. I am excited to announce yet another award, as Piedmont was recently recognized for having one of the top 10 best online master's degrees in leadership in the entire United States. Other universities in the top 10 list include schools like Johns Hopkins University, Gonzaga University. An award like this does not come without an excellent curriculum, outstanding faculty, affordable tuition, and flexible online delivery that utilizes cutting-edge innovation and maximizes the use of technology and the internet. Piedmont's faculty are noted for their professional guidance and instruction, as well as their relational care for each and every student. Our students are the most important ingredient to the success of our leadership programs. And graduates of these programs are doing amazing things, as many have been recognized for their exceptional leadership as school administrators, ministry leaders, medical practitioners, military personnel, pastors, entrepreneurs, business leaders. Allow me to share just a few examples of what some of our leadership graduates are doing. The list includes the CEO of a major automobile manufacturing factory here in the United States, the chancellor of a nationally known public university, the national HR director for a major grocery store chain, the administrators of a number of significant schools, and pastors of many key significant churches. Our graduates are demonstrating outstanding leadership in key roles across the country and all around the world, and we couldn't be more proud.
Sacrifice. Ambition. Loyalty. Pride. Drive. Unity.
That's what it takes to be a Bruin.
One, two, three, Bagley!
We ready? Start of the second half coming your way from Winston-Salem on the campus of Piedmont International University. I'm Dave Shook, he's Corey Glore. First of two here tonight. The men's game will follow with the Bruin men taking on the Centurions from Carolina Christian College in the nightcap. But business to be done here on the women's side first, as the Wildcats from Johnson and Wales will have the basketball moving from right to left as we switch ends of the floor, leading by 7 at 29-22. The Wildcats on the road blues trimmed in the yellow numerals with the white trim. The Bruins in the home whites trimmed in the powder blue along with the gray as well. Different starting lineup for the second half for the Bruins as Lane, Scott, Barnes, Rumpf, and Engel out there to start this second half as the jumper from the baseline is up and good for Bianca Covington to get us started in the second half for the Wildcats. 31-22 now the score.
Playing a three-guard lineup to start this half for Caleb Money, so he's going to roll with both of his guards in foul trouble, Lane and Scott at the same time. He sees that as kind of the only way to chip into this deficit here to start the half.
Engel will tee up a three from the near wing, hits off the front of the rim, and the rebound taken away by Covington. Zanaya Kessler's absence notable as she comes out of the locker room late, driving all the way in and laying it up and in as Covington, who has back-to-back buckets to start the second half, to make it 33-22.
And I think that might be more of an explanation of the starting lineup than anything, that Kessler was late coming out of the locker room.
Lane to the top for Engel, trying to get it inside for Rumpf, couldn't get it there. Instead, Lane move it far side for Scott. And now Scott at the top of the key with 10 to shoot, finds Barnes. Thought about the three, instead gets it back to Scott. Onto the baseline for Rumpf, who will drive it with the right hand, shut off on the baseline, and then stepped out of bounds as well, I believe. That is the case, and the ball will go back over into the hands of the Wildcats. No, we got a timeout, actually, it looks like. Just a 30-second timeout for the Bruins with what initially looked like it was going to be 1 on the shot clock. And now they're going to put 3 up there.
Yeah, that was, Caleb Money did not like what he was seeing there, and I think part of this is we'll see if Kessler comes off the bench and comes in for the rest of this possession there, but there was just a little bit of stagnation on that set that Caleb Money wasn't liking. The shot clock was bleeding down completely, and I'm not sure anyone really recognized that per se. Kessler's going to stay on the bench, though, here for this one.
Scott will trigger the inbound again with 3 on the shot clock. 8:48 left to play in this third quarter. 4 quick points to open the half for the Wildcats. Behind the screen, Lane, catch and shoot 3 from the corner is good. Well-designed play out of the timeout for Coach Money. Second 3 of the ball game for Lane. Cuts the deficit to 8 at 33-25 as Hankerson catches in traffic for the Wildcats. To the top for Muhammad. Pulls up just left of the lane, missed the jumper short. Rebound taken away by Hankerson, missed that, got her own miss back, and then is tied up inside by Barnes. Whistle the reach-in foul against Barnes, and that will put Hankerson back at the free throw line where she was making a living in that second quarter, and after a slow start, started to convert a little bit at the line. Pretty good free throw shooter on the season. Struggled some in the first half.
And that's the second on Barnes, so there's another thing to sort of keep an eye on here as we progress in the early stage of the third. That's your main and really only guard off the bench, too, that has worked her way into near foul trouble.
Misses the first off the front of the rim, does Hankerson, and 1 more to come. Second one off the front of the rim as well. Good position for the rebound by Lane. Bruins will come back the other way, trailing by 8 at 33-25 as Lane nearly lost the basketball right off the feet of Sophie Barnes, who ran by and kicked the ball away from Lane. Fortunately, it didn't get far away from her, but then the ball thrown away by Engel right into the hands of Hankerson, who goes one-on-one with Rumpf. Rumpf decks her going by, and Hankerson still nearly put it in, but a foul. The foul against Rumpf will be her third, as the fouls continue to pile up against the Bruins, and Hankerson once again going back to the line. Missed both a moment ago.
Just not quite sure how Caleb Money is going to work his way through the final 18 minutes of this game with the 9 players that he has at his disposal and keep all 9 available.
First free throw is good for Hankerson. First points of the second half for her. Continues the run going back to the first half. 5 straight to open the third quarter. That's 17 straight overall, dating back to the first half as she makes both. Make it 18 straight, and she's the first player for either team into double figures now with 10. 18-3 is actually the run, counting the three-pointer by Ashley Lane a few moments ago for the Bruins. The lead is 10, largest of the game at 35-25. Rumpf trying to get it on the baseline for a cutting Scott, but Scott a little bit late getting there, and the ball goes out of bounds on the baseline. And they'll go back over to the Wildcats. Speeding it into the forecourt is Muhammad, goes right around Barnes, all the way down the lane, floater no, but a traveling violation.
Chase Muhammad isn't quite sure about that call, and I don't think I blame her, to be honest there. She went down the lane. Looks like she elevated before she got that third step down, but traveling has been called quite often here by these officials tonight. They're keeping a close eye on it.
Wildcat coaching staff disagrees as well, but they're not going to argue too hard. Up 10 as Lane around the screen from Rumpf gets shut off in the lane. Far wing, open 3 for Kessler, who just checked back in. Misses the 3 off the front of the rim. Rumpf comes up with the miss and a second chance opportunity for the Bruins. Back to the top for Engel. Maya Scott back on the bench with the 4 fouls for the Bruins. Lane handling the point guard duties again out front. Shot clock down to 12 as Lane to the top for Kessler. Crosses over at the free throw line, can't get anywhere, and now the shot clock a factor, down to 5 in the corner for Lane's going to fire a contested 3 and rattle it in. Second 3 of the quarter for Ashley Lane, who's the first Bruin player in double figures. She's got 11. The deficit is 7 at 35-28 as the Wildcats back the other way with a jumper from Pauling that's no good. Offensive rebound by Hankerson in the lane, misses the layup. Third chance opportunity now for the Wildcats as she gets tied up underneath the basket with Engel. And a reach-in foul against Monifa Engel. It's going to send Hankerson back to the line, a place that she may not want to be right now, as she has struggled, but actually they're going to say that foul is on the floor.
And they're going to say it's on Kessler, which is an even better situation there for Piedmont to get her just her first, whereas Engel already has a couple.
Lob to the top for Shackelford, drives the lane, tried to bank it, no good, got her own miss back, goes with the fadeaway, got the ball deflected away, and the ball right into the hands of Hankerson, who misses the short jumper, and the weak side rebound to the Bruins.
Caleb Money with palms out towards the court says slow down here as this possession, draining the possession clock down, worked the last couple trips down for Piedmont.
It's been tough sledding in the paint on both sides, with both teams desperately trying to congest the painted area as Rumpf drives it into that congestion. Kicks it to the far wing for Engel, try to step back 3, got it blocked. Wildcats with a loose ball and a 3-on-1 break back the other way. Short jumper from Pauling is halfway down and out. Offensive rebound and a putback by Muhammad's no good. Battle for the loose ball. Engel throws it right back to Muhammad, and Muhammad lays it in. Third chance opportunity for the Wildcats there. Lead is 9, 37-28.
Even the things that weren't working there for J&W worked. You don't want that 16-footer on a 3-on-1, but Lane was the only one back for Piedmont, so she was being dwarfed by everyone down there. She couldn't get the offensive board, and eventually it was cashed in.
Lane spins her way around a couple of defenders, tries to bank one from the block. A little bit soft on that one. Wildcats back the other way, driving the lane inside and being fouled was Shackelford, and Shackelford will go to the free throw line.
There have been a few ticky-tacks being whistled here tonight, especially in that second quarter. That was not one of them, as Kessler threw down an arm bar to prevent that easy bucket there for Shackelford.
Second on Kessler, 4th on the team. None against the Wildcats yet in this third quarter, as Shackelford misses the first, and the adventure at the free throw line continues in this ball game for the Wildcats, who have really struggled. They could be up a lot more than they are with a better free throw shooting percentage, as we get a couple of subs for both sides, including Euphrasia Harris back into the game for the Wildcats. Second free throw attempt is good for Shackelford. 38-28 matches the largest lead of the game for the Wildcats. Justice Wallace also back into the game for the Wildcats, wearing number 1. At the top is Kessler, far wing for Rumpf with a right-hand dribble, goes into the paint, puts up the floater, no, but a reach and foul before the shot. Charlotta Hackett into the game as well for the Bruins during that last substitution, replacing Monifa Engel. And they'll say that actually was in the act of shooting, so Arian Rumpf will get a pair. She leads second on the team in scoring right now with 7, is 1 of 2 at the stripe. First one is good.
Continuation is open for debate for most officials around the basketball circuit. Some are tighter with it than others. That one was a rather casual version of continuation. Had that shot drop, we've seen Rumpf work that to her advantage in the second quarter. She had a couple of buckets like that where she was essentially tracing across the free throw line.
Second free throw too hard. Great job by Zanaya Kessler, though, as she tapped that off the window right back into the hands of Rumpf, who banks it in. Not sure if she intended to do that, but it certainly worked out to their benefit. It becomes essentially a 3-point possession as the Wildcats back the other way, still leading by 7 in the lane. A traveling violation as Shackelford tried to sweep across the painted area. And the Bruins will get it back on the turnover by the Wildcats. Just to go back to your comment about the continuation, though, you typically will see that type of continuation allowed at the NBA level. The college level, they're usually much more tight about it, though.
And you usually don't see that type of play, though, at a higher college level, though. We'll say that. You don't see a lot of wing-to-wing game where you're driving across the paint like that.
Coast to coast by Lane, misses the layup, rebounded by Hackett, and then Hackett is tied up under the basket. It's going to be another jump ball. The possession arrow this time favors the Bruins, so they will keep it. Ashley Lane, though, with her hands on her head, knows she missed an opportunity to make this a 5-point game, but the Bruins still hanging around in this one, only down 7, 38-31. Despite all the foul trouble, very much in the ball game right now with 4:47 to play in the third. Fresh shot clock, trying to get it down low on the baseline for Kessler. Ball knocked out of bounds, though, by Wallace. The Bruins will keep it with 22 on the shot clock.
So becoming a game where if Piedmont can hang in here and get to this fourth quarter within striking distance, and that's where those free throw misses will start creeping into the back of the mind of the Wildcats. They have been tough at the line tonight.
Barnes on the baseline, jumper is an air ball. Weak side rebound taken away by Harris.
Barnes didn't really leave the floor at all in that jumper.
Lead ahead on the break, intended for Wallace. Wallace caught it too far under the basket, wasn't able to turn around and get it off the window cleanly. And the rebound taken away by the Bruins, who dodge a bullet there, still trailing by 7, 38-31. Barnes in the corner on the near side, back to Lane. Now to Rumpf at the free throw line, tries to spin her way into the paint around Harris, pulls up from 10, comes up a little bit short. Hackett had the rebound for a moment, but it comes out of there to the Wildcats, who have a run out back the other way. 2-on-1, lead it ahead for Wallace. Right-hand layup is good. Second field goal of the game for Justice Wallace. She's got 4, the lead is 9, 40-31. A little bit of full court pressure again by the Wildcats. Didn't have a whole lot of success with this in the first half. And the Bruins able to break it fairly easily this time as Lane weaves her way through traffic into the forecourt. 15 on the shot clock, uses the screen from Hackett, tried to get it back to her on the roll. Ball was deflected. Barnes had a hand on it on the baseline, but it rolls out of bounds. Back over to the Wildcats.
That was a good idea in theory there for Lane as she wound up at the top of the key and then was looking for a roller to the bucket, but there was so much congestion in the lane that the no-look pass was just deflected pretty easily.
Wallace spins around Rumpf, throws it off the window too strong, and then gets knocked to the deck. And a blocking foul against the Wildcats, and so Wallace will go to the line for 2. And if that foul is on Rumpf, it's her 4th, and that is another big foul against the Bruins, as Amaya Scott gets set to check back in, as does Alicia Cumberbatch. First free throw is good for Wallace, her first attempt of the night. Check that, Monifa Engel checking in. Barnes and Rumpf will sit, and the foul is on Rumpf, her 4th. So Rumpf and now Scott both with 4. Scott back on the floor with the 4 fouls. Second free throw for Wallace is good. Second time a Bruin or a Wildcat player has made both free throws in a single trip.
There are just so many bodies that you have to play. If you're Kayla Money here, he's going to run out of them here shortly, you feel.
Scott drives the lane, sweeps it across the top of the rim, no good. Offensive rebound by Hackett. Up top, a three is good for Monifa Engel. Big basket for the Bruins. Second field goal for Engel. She's got 5. Deficit cut to 8 at 42-34. Wildcats right at the free throw line for Wallace. That's no good. Rebounded by Harris. Kicks it back into the hands of Shackelford. And then Shackelford coming across the lane is fouled. We'll see who the foul is on. They're going to put up 2-4 for Kessler. Fortunately for the Bruins instead of Scott. But now that's the third on Kessler, all of them in this quarter. And I'm trying to rack my brain and think, is there a Bruin player out there on the roster right now with less than 2 fouls? And I'm not sure there is.
Less than 2, I don't think so. Maybe sitting at 2, you got 1 or 2 that you can choose from here. But it has been a foul fest here for the Bruins defensively.
At the free throw line is Shackelford as the Wildcats back in the bonus as they've been in all 3 quarters of the game so far. Makes the first. Suddenly the Wildcats have made 3 in a row at the stripe as their lead back to 9, and we get substitutions for the Wildcats. Pauling back into the game. Second free throw is no good. Battle for the miss, and we're going to get an over the back foul. It's going to go against Hankerson, who just checked back in. Clearing out Charlotta Hackett underneath the basket. Second team foul against the Wildcats in this third quarter. And the second against Hankerson. Kiara Lloyd back into the game as well for the Wildcats.
And back to the Lane and Scott backcourt here for Kayla Money.
First time we've seen it in the second half is Scott in the corner. Trying to direct some traffic, comes back to the top for Ashley Lane.
Get the sense that Coach Money feels is now or never time to climb back into this one, so you got to roll with the 2 guards despite the fouls.
Well, the door is certainly open as they try to go back door for Scott. Pass deflected and stolen. Now a 2-on-1 back the other way. Driving it inside is Pauling. Drops it off underneath for Lloyd, and Lloyd lays it in for her first field goal. She's got 3. 45-34, matches the largest lead of the game for the Wildcats at 11. Bad pass, nearly stolen away. It is stolen away. Saving it on the sideline is Muhammad. Muhammad drops it off underneath the basket for Pauling, and Pauling lays it in. And an unforced error by the Bruins results in another hoop for the Wildcats. And the lead balloons to 13. Scott trying to answer with a 3. Hits off the back of the rim. Rebound taken away by Hackett under the basket. Hackett trying to come back to the top. Has the ball knocked away and stolen. Hankerson with the steal. Wildcats with the basketball. Muhammad thought about stepping into that 3 from the wing. Instead moves it into the corner for Lloyd. Right at the free throw line is Pauling. Pauling, nice drop down underneath for Hankerson, who lays it in.
Heck of a pass and heck of a job by J&W. They sucked the entire side of the play to the left. And that meant it was slightly open there on the weak side. That started the whole thing to find Hankerson wide open.
90 seconds left to play in the quarter. 3-pointer from the corner is no good by the Bruins. Back the other way, a run out all the way to the rim goes Covington, and Covington lays it in, and that's going to draw the timeout from Coach Money. It will be a full timeout, as just as it looked like the Bruins were going to get an opportunity to hang around in this game into the fourth quarter, the Wildcats have broken it open. They lead it by 17, 51-34. We'll take the timeout as well. Back with more after this. 1:18 left to play in the third quarter here on the Bruins Sports Network from Carolina Sports Live.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win, and the others too.
With 1:18 left to play in the third quarter, and the Bruins suddenly find themselves trailing by 17 at 51-34 as the Wildcats have broken this game open. And Corey, as that timeout approached, you could see the fatigue starting to set in a little bit for this Bruins team, playing with a short bench and a lot of fouls out there. the fatigue factor starting to really kick in here at the end of this third quarter.
The game got physical early. The fouls started racking up, and that wears down a team with a thin bench, and we're seeing it now.
Wildcats sensing that, and now they get a steal with the full court pressure. Lead ahead pass, and a layup is good for Jada Morgan. She has 6 in the game off the bench for this Wildcat team. The lead is 19 now at 53-34, and then on the inbounds pass, a tie-up and a jump ball with the possession arrow favoring the Wildcats, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They flashed the full court pressure about midway through the first quarter, and Piedmont was able to break it with ease. As there's the easy inbound bucket for Pauling to keep this run going here. But now that this team is exhausted, and now that this team is trailing, they haven't been able to break through anymore. They've turned it over 3 of the last 4 times down.
55-34, 21-point deficit as Cumberbatch nearly turns it over. Working against Hankerson. Cumberbatch will throw it in. 15 on the shot clock, 38 seconds even on the game clock. Scott on that Bruin midcourt logo. Around the screen from Cumberbatch. Drives it inside, lost the handle. Picked up, though, by Lane. 1 on the shot clock. Bruins not aware of it, though, and a shot clock violation will give the ball back over to the Wildcats as the struggles continue for this Bruins team as we come down the stretch in this third quarter. 20.6 on the game clock, and now the shot clock is off. Chase Muhammad will handle on what might be the final possession of this third quarter. They'll lob it over the top. Hankerson with a good catch. Shot blocked, though, inside by Monifa Angle. Great job to get a hand on that. Now with 5 seconds left, Bruins with a chance to end the half of the bucket as Scott drives it wildly inside. No. Barnes with a putback. No. Then the third quarter will come to an end. The Bruins miss an opportunity at the end of the third quarter to try and stop the bleeding a little bit, but the deficit now at 21, 55-34. 10 minutes left to play in this one. We'll have it for you on the other side of this timeout with the Bruins trailing 55-34 here on the Bruins Sports Network from Carolina Sports Live.
Sacrifice. Ambition. Loyalty. Pride. Drive. Unity.
That's what it takes to be a Bruin.
One, two, three, bang!
Sacrifice.
Winston-Salem with the score at 54-34 between the Bruins and the Wildcats here in Winston-Salem. Bruins with the basketball to start things out, moving from left to right as we get a check of the scoreboard.
Yeah, the scores table came over across the court to check the score. Right now the board in the arena has 54-34. We have 55-34, and that's why the officials have stopped play, because they're noticing something as well.
And we are never wrong.
No, never. We broadcasters are always correct.
Now the scorebook, the scoreboard in this building has had a mind of its own at times this year. And so I'm not surprised that there's a difference of opinion here between us and them. But we'll try and sort that out for you and figure out what the story is here. Nevertheless, we're going to start this fourth and final quarter with the Bruins with the basketball, trailing.
Going to stay with 20 here in the building.
Yeah. Unofficially by 21, as Ashley Lane has the basketball at the top, tries to go backdoor, lobs it for Scott, makes the catch, got her shot blocked by Hankerson, and then lost the basketball. Back the other way for the Wildcats. Muhammad drives it into the paint, goes right around Lane, lays it up with the right hand. No, got her own miss back, steps up and lays it off with the right hand, couldn't get it to stay down, and then tied up again underneath the basket. This time it's Angle and Covington getting tied up.
Ball's should go to Piedmont here as the possession arrow says so.
Well, I don't think they changed the possession arrow after the initial possession of the second half.
But that was also a quick whistle for a jump ball. It should be Piedmont ball.
Inbounds pass comes right into the hands of Pauling, who couldn't put down the layup, and the Wildcats had multiple opportunities to put points on the board there on that trip. Not able to get any of them to go down, though, and the Bruins will come back the other way, looking for their first points of this fourth quarter, their first points in a while, as Barnes trying to get it down low inside for Cumberbatch with the ball kicked out of bounds. So we'll reset the shot clock to 15, and the Bruins will have the basketball as Lane directs some traffic on the baseline, and we'll throw it in. Lobs it to the free throw line for Angle, into the corner for Lane. Down low, Scott, triple team, somehow manages to spin it off the window and in. Amaya Scott's second field goal of the ballgame.
Not
no idea how she got that in there.
She just she realized that she couldn't move to her left, and so she kind of pivoted right just a little bit and flung it up behind her back and got it high off the glass and in.
Covington dribbling at the free throw line, double team, moves it over to the far wing for Muhammad, passes on an open three, gets it to the high post area for Pauling. Pauling with the turnaround jumper, that's no good. Rebound, Angle taps it to herself. And the Bruins will come back the other way, looking to cut into this deficit, trailing by 19 at 55-36. Lane to the top for Cumberbatch, near side for Angle. And now Lane coming back to the top, a reach-in foul. It's going to go against the Wildcats in Shackelford. First foul in the quarter against the Wildcats, and the second on Shackelford as Rumpf and Kessler return. Barnes and Cumberbatch will sit. Kessler, who had a really good first half, but has been quiet thus far in the second. Back on the floor. Angle, high post area to the top for Rumpf. Rumpf with the left-hand dribble, forces contact against two defenders with 2 on the shot clock. Somehow lays it in and picks up 2 points. She's got 12 in the game, and the score is 55-38, 4 straight to open the fourth.
She's been really good in this game, Dave. She has been put some power moves towards the basket, especially there.
Kessler with a steal, pulls up at the free throw line, jumper a little bit short, and the rebound taken away by Muhammad.
And that's exhaustion creeping in, where if you got your legs under you, you drive to the bucket there, or you're able to get a little bit more loft on the shot. But Kessler, who has been a workhorse here tonight, had to run point at times here this evening. She's running out of steam.
Shackelford trying to skip that ball into the corner. Gets knocked down, and a foul whistled against the Bruins. Fouls on Kessler, who joins Rumpf and Scott in the book with 4 personals each. And we were hypothesizing about the possibility of seeing an Alabama situation during the timeout between quarters, and whether or not we might see the Bruins end up finishing this game with fewer than 5 players on the court, given the dire straits in the foul situation right now. 7:32 left to play in the ball game, and the Bruins trailing by 16 at 54-38. Wildcats into the corner, trying to get it down low for Pauling. Ball kicked out of bounds, though. Shot clock will stay at 23. Possession will stay with the Wildcats. In fact, you have 3 players out there for the Bruins right now with 4 fouls, and another with 3. Top of the key for the Wildcats with Covington. Into the corner for Brown. Check that for Shackelford. That's a 20, not a 10. Shackelford will tee up an open 3, hits off the front of the rim, and the rebound battled for. Lane comes up with it, and then a reach-in foul from behind that's going to go against Jada Morgan and the Wildcats. So a second personal foul in this fourth quarter against the Wildcats, who have done a really nice job of staying out of foul trouble most of the night. Free throw totals would be something to behold in this game, comparatively by team, as Scott drives it all the way inside, spins it off the window and in. 6 in the game now for Amaya Scott. 15-point deficit at 55-40 with 6:50 left to play in the ball game. Trying to drive it inside as Covington gets into the lane, puts up the little floater, and scores it again. 8 in the game for Covington, the 5'4" junior. 57-40. Bruins able to break the pressure back the other way as Scott gets rejected and then hit the court really, really hard on the shot block that time by Hankerson, and Scott really made some hard contact with the floor, and you hope she did not bounce her head off the court that time.
It looked like she did, Dave, and now she's kind of on her knees trying to get kind of her bearings about her. The trainer's out as well, and she's going to come off the floor as she should here. That was a hard tumble to the deck for Amaya Scott.
Scott able to walk off under her own power. Fortunately, as you see Ashley Lane obviously shaken up by how hard Scott hit the deck there. And with all of the focus on concussion problems in sports, certainly you cannot be too careful.
Yeah, you might want to get her out of the gym here in the near future.
Rumpf in the corner, steps inside the three-point line and knocks down the 18-footer. As we come back to play, Rumpf has had a really nice game like you mentioned, Corey. Now 14 in the game for her. 57-42 is our score in favor of the Wildcats. As driving along the baseline is Covington. No continuation on that one, as the foul will be before the shot. Though again, if this were the NBA, you'd have been allowed to take at least 2 more steps and maybe 2 or 3 more dribbles before that would have been waved off. The foul will go against Rumpf, and her evening will end with 14 points. Cumberbatch will return in her place. And Rumpf, understandably frustrated with the way that this game has played out, will exit for the remainder of the evening. Jumper on the way from 16, just free throw line extended for Lloyd is good. Second field goal of the game for Kiara Lloyd off the bench, 59-42. 6:10 left to play in the ball game. Lost her shoe out there, did Shackelford for the Wildcats, defending Ashley Lane. And then I think has whistled for the foul as well, which will give her a chance to retreat back to the backcourt to get it.
She might have done that on purpose because she wasn't too comfortable playing one shoe on, one shoe off, as no one would be.
Staying in front of Lane is difficult enough as it is oftentimes. And now she'll get a seat on the bench with a chance to put her shoe back on, and back into the game will come a host of Wildcat players, including Harris and who's that on the other side over there? Jada Morgan back into the game as well. Justice Wallace, the third person back into the game, as Harris knocks that pass out of bounds intended for Cumberbatch. 5:59 left to play in the ball game. Inbounds pass comes in for Kessler. From Kessler, finds Cumberbatch, gets knocked down shooting the layup, tried to draw the contact. Wildcats with the loose ball back the other way into the lane, missed the shot in close to Covington, scrambled on the floor for the loose ball, taken away by Kessler. Now the Bruins want to run back the other way. Kessler pulls up on the near wing, comes back to the top for Lane. Far side for Barnes, gonna put up the 3 from the wing. It's off the front of the rim, no. And then in the rebounding action, a foul. It's gonna go against Cumberbatch, trying to box out Smith underneath, or Harris underneath rather.
Cumberbatch wanted the foul the last trip down and didn't get it. Then it almost looked like Barnes was hit on that 3-point attempt as well. That didn't get called. Then a little bit of frustration from Cumberbatch down low. She picks up her third.
Wildcats with the basketball. Good entry pass underneath for Harris. Harris then got the ball knocked away by Barnes. Not able to save it. On the baseline was Cumberbatch.
They're going to, I think, retroactively call a foul here.
Yeah.
That was initially going to be out of bounds off of Cumberbatch. The undecided judge on the near side saw a bump put on by Harris and say, no, we're going to call that foul.
So Harris whistled for the foul, her third. Ball goes back over to the Bruins as Lane in the paint pulls up at the free throw line. Jumper on the way is an air ball. Barnes underneath for the rebound. Finds Cumberbatch underneath the basket, and then Cumberbatch is bumped and fouled on the floor. Barnes may not be the most gifted offensive player in the world for this Bruins team, but she on multiple occasions tonight has stuck her nose in for offensive rebounds and created second chances. Give her credit for working very, very hard for a player who did not play in high school.
Yeah, she was homeschooled, and the fact that she just kind of has a nose for the bucket is extremely impressive there. She's usually going to be the smallest on the floor, or one of the smallest on the floor. And she is not really too timid down there, which is good to see. The officials were about ready to make that an inbounds, which would have been horribly inaccurate. Now they finally get everyone set up along the lane for Cumberbatch to shoot a couple of free throws.
That the 5th team foul in the half against, or in the quarter rather, against the Wildcats.
And it was a shooting foul anyway.
Yeah.
So there shouldn't have been a debate in two different ways.
The foul was on Harris, who picks up her 3rd in about the last 45 seconds. Cumberbatch makes 1 of 2 at the line for her first points. An offensive rebound, though, by Kessler, and then Kessler tied up in the lane for a jump ball. That will give the ball back to the Bruins. The foul against Harris was her 4th. That's the only real foul trouble in the game right now for the Wildcats, although it looks fairly incidental at this point. 4:57 left to play in the game as Kessler will trigger the inbound. Trying to throw it in the corner for Lane, but the pass too tall. Skips off her fingertips and out of bounds. So Wildcats will have it back, looking to put a little bit more distance between themselves and the Bruins and put a exclamation point on this game as they get it down low inside for Wallace. Wallace into the hands of Morgan, and then a traveling violation. And I think with all of the pushing and shoving and the physical nature of this game, the officials are trying to tighten their grip on it a little bit with 4.5 minutes left to play in this game, as they don't want to see anything get out of control, as Cumberbatch trying to lob it for Lane over the top of a couple of defenders who are denying her the basketball. Ball thrown a little bit too high, though, and it rolls out of bounds. And because nobody touched it before it went out of bounds, the Wildcats will come back to the initial point of entry and will throw it in again.
Such a weird spot on the floor to inbound that direction there. It was a little bit closer to the free throw line, and you only got about 15 feet to work with if you're going to throw it to the baseline there, and that's where problems came in.
Wildcats will throw it in on the sideline. Into the corner for Harris. Tries to drive around Cumberbatch, and there's again another one of those, we're trying to tighten our grip on the game fouls.
It's much appreciated, guys. Well done. There was some tempers flaring in this one early in this contest, especially in that second quarter, which was so back and forth between the two. There were some things being said back and forth between the two, but since then, this game really has calmed down for the most part once J&W went on that run to end the third quarter.
4th foul against Cumberbatch, as driving across the lane is Morgan. Pull-up jumper from 6 feet away is off the front of the rim, and a rebound taken away by the Bruins as they come back the other way. Clock running, 4:15 to play in the ball game. Ashley Lane behind the screen from Cumberbatch, pulls up for 3. It's off to the left. Scramble for the loose ball, and Harris comes out of there with it. Long lead ahead pass to Wallace, who's out behind the crowd. Layup with the right hand and in. 8 in the game now for Wallace, her 3rd field goal. 61-43 is our score. Scoreboard says 60-43, which we believe is incorrect.
Well, that's going to be the official one when all is said and done.
We'll stick with that at the end of this one.
And from that one earlier, this game got down to 14 at one point early in this quarter, and Piedmont trying to have a way to back their way into this game again, but then another couple turnovers ended that.
Trying to get the ball on the baseline for Hackett, or for Kessler rather, I should say, but stolen away by the Wildcats. Back the other way, jumper from the free throw line extended by Morgan, comes off the front of the rim, and surprise, surprise, Sophie Barnes sticking her nose in for the rebound for the Bruins. Tied up on the baseline. Possession arrow stays with the Wildcats as they'll get subs. Brianna Walthall into the game for the first time for the Wildcats, as is Shannon Martin. Lob it in quickly for Wallace. Goes up against the double team inside with Kessler and Engel. Not able to get the shot over the both of them, and the loose ball taken away by the Bruins. 3:10 left to play in the ballgame. Ashley Lane at the top of the key. Far side for Engel. Onto the baseline for Barnes. Jumper on the way. Skims off the back of the rim. Rebound taken away by the Bruins, who'll get a second opportunity at it as Kessler comes back to the top for Engel. Near side for Lane. Reset of the shot clock. Down to 20. Into the corner for Cumberbatch. Cumberbatch shut off with a double team. Somehow manages to maintain her pivot foot. Gets it on the baseline. A jumper from Lane is no good. An offensive rebound and a putback is no good for Kessler. But she's fouled and she'll go to the line. I have no idea how Cumberbatch managed to maintain that plant foot and keep from traveling on that play.
There was a little bit of Matrix-style bending and twisting that she somehow did.
That was
you're right. She
incredibly impressive.
She kept her pivot foot on there as she was kind of bending backward and stretched out like Stretch Armstrong. It was quite impressive, the fact that she was able to not just hold on the ball, but then find an open shooter in the process.
Zanaya Kessler making the first of 2 at the line. First points of the second half for her after she was a big part of the reason this game was still competitive in the first half.
Not just that, they had a 5-point lead with about 3 minutes to play in that first half.
And between the free throws, we're going to get a timeout from Coach Caleb Money. It's a full timeout, and we'll take it as well. 2:39 left to play in the ball game. 61-44 is the score in favor of the Wildcats. Back with the conclusion after this here on the Bruins Sports Network from Carolina Sports Live.
USA, you were born to rage, so come on!
Rage. 1, 2, rage. 1, 2.
Zanaya Kessler at the line for one more as we come back to play here in Winston-Salem with the Wildcats leading 60-44 in game number 1 of tonight's doubleheader. We'll have the second game for you coming up as well between the Bruins men's team and the Centurions from Carolina Christian College as Kessler makes the second. 3 of 4 at the line for Zanaya Kessler, the 6-foot sophomore. She has 8 in the game overall. 61-45 is the score, jacking up a 3 from the wing. That's so good by Martin, and a weak side rebound for the Bruins. Back the other way is Lane trying to drive it inside. Shut off, though, on the double team. Comes back to the free throw line area. Kick out on the way for Kessler. Knocks down the 3. Second three-pointer of the ball game for Zanaya Kessler, who has 11. Joining Arian Rumpf in double figures along with Ashley Lane. 61-48 the score now with 2:05 left to play in the game. Jumper is short by Kiara Lloyd and a rebound for the Bruins, so we'll come back the other way. 12-point deficit with 1:55 to play in the game. Lane at the top, picked up in the double team. Gets it into the post area for Kessler. Turnaround jumper is no good. And the rebound taken away by the Wildcats. And as Corey Glore is correctly counting on the floor right now, the Bruins with just 4 players out there, I think due to injuries and fouls. As the Wildcats pick up another basket. Back the other way is Kessler with a three-pointer that bounces in and out. And the rebound taken away by the Wildcats. Trying to run the floor back the other way. Jumper on the way from Martin. Bounces off the front of the rim. Loose ball taken away by the Wildcats. We'll get another opportunity at it. Lob it down low. Martin off the window and in. Martin coming into the game intent on getting some shots up. Finally converts on one there. And with 1 minute even left to play, it's 64-48.
It's interesting, Dave, because you're looking at the Piedmont bench. You see Hackett over there. She's not in foul trouble in terms of being in danger of fouling out. Barnes isn't either, but I think they're just both out of steam.
Yeah.
And this is just a health preservation thing now.
Yeah, Barnes in particular, you got to believe, is really out of gas. Played a long way in this game because of the foul trouble, much more than she's been asked to play at any point this season. As Martin looking for another one. This one no good. An offensive rebound taken away by Lloyd. Layup is no good, and a foul. 30-point in on the game clock as Cumberbatch will join her teammates on the bench with her 5th foul of the ball game. And we'll see if the Bruins are intent on finishing this with 3 players. It looks like they are.
You got your prognostication there,
we
Dave.
hypothesized between the 3rd and 4th quarters. Nope, Barnes is going to pop up off the bench. I think wants to go back in, but Coach Money's going to tell her to sit down.
And you'll love to see that with a game out of hand in the final 30 seconds. She wants to play. She wants to finish this thing off here. But at this point, said, go get a drink of water. We're all right.
6 in the game for Lloyd, who makes the first of 2. Second one on the way is no good. Rebound battled for. And a whistle and a foul. It's going to go against the Wildcats in the lane. So only half a second coming off the game clock in an 18-point game. Never what you want to see. Wildcats will improve on the season to 18-4. Bruins will drop to 4-8. And the Bruins look like they will just dribble it out. About a half-second difference game to shot clock. As Lane, with just 3 Bruin players on the floor to finish this one out. Final score will be 66-48 as the Wildcats will exit the floor here in just a moment. We'll hear from head coach Caleb Money in a moment. We'll also hear from our Gateway Pharmacy of Kernersville player of the game coming up after this here on the Bruin Sports Network from Carolina Sports Live. 66-48 the final.
This program is unique in that it addresses 3 key leadership areas: organizational management, educational administration, and ministry administration.
I would say the payoff is in ways that I never imagined. I never thought I would have such a supportive network. I never thought I would meet such great people who were at different points in their life. I mean, you can be sitting next to someone who's the CEO, and you sit next to people who are doctors. You also sit next to people who are stay-at-home moms who have decided to go back to school. It has enriched me in ways I just never thought a PhD program would.
I have a nuclear engineering technology bachelor's degree. I got an MBA from a secular school, and I knew that there was a whole Christian aspect of leadership. You read the books about Nehemiah, David, Christ himself. And so I wanted to build that into my learning and knowledge, so I started looking for a Christian college.
Piedmont comes across my computer, and they're on the top of all these lists, best this, top that, top 25, top. And I said, okay, this school seems to have a reputation for academic excellence.
The professors, the relationships we're building, and the leadership program is second to none. I'm able to use every single class I've taken in my business, and my business has grown. Not only my business, but I'm able to do community development and train other leaders, young leaders, middle-aged leaders, older leaders, and then I'm able to pass on leadership abilities and skills, to other people.
This program has a number of key strengths. Depending on which concentration, whether it's education or business or ministry, because it's a terminal degree, a PhD, it opens doors of opportunity. God can use this program in so many different ways. In pastoral ministry, it can open doors to greater opportunities to share Christ in different contexts. In organizational management, it opens doors to new leadership positions. For many of our students, that's been their story. And in educational administration, it has done the same as well.
Since I've been in the program, the flexibility of the schedule, because I had to relocate from one end of the country to the other. I had to go to China for 2 adoptions. Last year, my daughter had open heart surgery. So we've been able to work around that.
PIU students, they walk the talk. The professors, they walk the talk. So they lead by example, and therefore their students just emulate and lead by example in the communities they come from. It's just that simple.
To know that not only are my professors top-notch, not only do they know, everything in their field, they're leaders in their field, they're knowledgeable, they're guiding you, they're praying for you. And to know that makes all the difference in the world.
It's cost effective. It got the goal of having the Christian aspect brought into leadership and how that fits all together, and then the staff support.
But if you make the decision and you decide to come, it's the best decision you'll ever make, and you will not be the same afterwards.
I knew I had made the right decision.
Back here in Winston-Salem on the campus of Piedmont International University, 66-48 is the final score as head coach Caleb Money joins us here at courtside. Coach, certainly a tough loss. Your team really battled throughout this game, especially with some of the early foul trouble to Ashley and Amaya, but I thought in the second quarter in particular, despite all of that, Zanaya Kessler being able to give you that boost that she did, I thought was really impressive, the fight from your group to be able to fight through that foul trouble in the first half.
It's difficult. Someday I hope we don't put ourselves in a situation where we got to fight so much, and maybe that'll be down the road at some point. But yeah, we did fight on a very rough night. It's never been a part of something like this.
It was kind of a wild game, finishing the game with just 3 players on the court due to some of the depth issues, foul and fatigues and all kinds of good stuff like that. But some other players I thought that really contributed. Arian Rumpf really battling against Hankerson underneath the basket all night long. More than held her own, I thought, throughout most of the game tonight.
I completely agree. Rumpf worked really hard. The couple questionable fouls, I think she did get a couple in there, but there were a couple questionable ones. Hankerson is an All-American player in the USCAA, several-time player of the month in the USCAA. They're a tough-ranked team, number 2 in the USCAA, so Hankerson's tough, and to have a freshman like Arian that I'll have for the next 3 years after this is going to be great. She can battle with a girl like that.
How much can you learn from games like this, and how much does this improve your group, especially with such a young team going forward when you play against teams like this?
Discipline. Control what you can control. We can't control what anyone else does, but we can always control how we react to it or what we do about it. And that's what we have to learn. I feel like it's been a skipping CD a whole lot of times. At least I sound like one anyways, but that's what we got to learn from this. Stay disciplined and control what we can control.
It's a young team, but they've certainly shown some real flashes throughout the season, including against a team like this one tonight. Like you mentioned, a very highly ranked opponent. Certainly had their moments in this one, but ultimately depth and foul trouble, and just not able to kind of find a way to keep things under wraps defensively for most of this game tonight.
Yeah, I hope none of these injuries are anything dangerous. Hopefully we can get healthy and get them going.
All right, Coach, we appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again here next week.
Absolutely.
Hey, Coach Caleb Money joining us here at courtside. The final score again, 66-48, as the Bruins come up short tonight against one of the top-ranked teams in America, the Wildcats from Johnson and Wales, dropping to 4-8 on the season. The Wildcats improving to 18-4. We're going to take we're going to talk with Zanaya Kessler right now, our player of the game, brought to you by Gateway Pharmacy of Kernersville. Zanaya Kessler, who certainly had a huge impact on this game here tonight, particularly in the first half when the game was very much on the table despite all the foul trouble tonight. Zanaya, thanks for taking a couple of minutes to talk with us today.
Oh, no problem.
All the foul trouble in the early going in this game with Amaya Scott and Ashley Lane really kind of impacted the game tonight, I thought, as it looks like you're having maybe a little bit of trouble down on the floor right now. We're going to have somebody come down to help you out here with that, as the receiver may be turned off there. It sounded like it was jumping in and out, so we'll see if we can't get that corrected here. Hang on 1 second. Again, the final score 66-48, 3 players in double figures. Kessler and Rumpf among them, along with Ashley Lane. Kessler finishing with 11 points in the ball game in the loss tonight to this Johnson and Wales team, against 66-48, the final score. As Corey Galore down there trying to help out Zanaya with some of the audio issues that we're having right now on the court. Having a little bit of trouble hearing things. Again, taking a look at some of the final numbers in this ball game from the game tonight. 3 players in double figures for the Bruins, led by Arian Rumpf, who finished with 14 points. Zanaya Kessler and Ashley Lane each with 11. 6 points in the game for Amaya Scott, battling through the foul trouble all night, and then Monifa Engel finishing with 5. Zanaya, do we have you back here?
Yes, sir.
All right, sorry about that. So foul trouble in the early going with Ashley and Amaya that kind of put you guys in a bind early on in the game. You found yourself down by 7, but then you were a big part of the rally in the second quarter. What changed for you guys to go on that 12-0 run that turned you from down 7 to up 5 in that second quarter?
Like being a team, it comes with trials and tribulations. In the first half, we was with it, but everybody got down on themselves. So as a team, we all had to lift each other up back in halftime. So we came back and got at it. And so, like our main goal was to give it all, give it everything we could give.
Certainly played really hard throughout most of the night tonight, Zanaya, but Coach Money was saying just a second ago, he'd never really been a part of a game like this with all the fouls and all the injuries you guys went through. Have you ever been in a game where you ended up with just 3 players on the court at the end?
No.
That was very, very different, certainly. So 66-48. Now, you finished with 11 playing in this game as a starter and had to play a long way. Tell us about what you kind of bring to this team. What allows you to be an impact player on the court every night for this group?
I love motivating my team. I love, you know, when they get down on themselves, I love like picking them up. I feel like that's my main goal, is to make everybody satisfied and make sure they play to the best of their abilities.
Now you still have a couple of games left in this season. What are some of the real goals that this team wants to accomplish as you come down the stretch here in these final couple of games?
We're going to get this win. We're going to get every single win. And we're going to play hard. I'm going to make sure everybody play hard.
I like the confidence from Zanaya Kessler. Zanaya, thanks for taking the time with us, and best of luck down the road, okay?
Thank you so much.
Zanaya Kessler joining us here at Courtside, our player of the game for tonight, finishing with 11 points, brought to you by Gateway Pharmacy of Kernersville. We'll take one final timeout. We'll come back and wrap things up after this here on the Bruins Sports Network from Carolina Sports Live.
Ambition.
Loyalty.
Pride.
Over the past few years, Piedmont International University has been moving up the ladder in both state and national rankings in a variety of categories. I am excited to announce yet another award, as Piedmont was recently recognized for having one of the top 10 best online master's degrees in leadership in the entire United States. Other universities in the top 10 list include schools like Johns Hopkins University, Gonzaga University. An award like this does not come without an excellent curriculum, outstanding faculty, affordable tuition, and flexible online delivery that utilizes cutting-edge innovation and maximizes the use of technology and the internet. Piedmont's faculty are noted for their professional guidance and instruction, as well as their relational care for each and every student. Our students are the most important ingredient to the success of our leadership programs. And graduates of these programs are doing amazing things, as many have been recognized for their exceptional leadership as school administrators, ministry leaders, medical practitioners, military personnel, pastors, entrepreneurs, business leaders. Allow me to share just a few examples of what some of our leadership graduates are doing. The list includes the CEO of a major automobile manufacturing factory here in the United States, the chancellor of a nationally known public university, the national HR director for a major grocery store chain, the administrators of a number of significant schools, and pastors of many key significant churches. Our graduates are demonstrating outstanding leadership in key roles across the country and all around the world, and we couldn't be more proud.
66-48, the final score, as the Piedmont women come up short against Johnson & Wales tonight, dropping to 4-8 on the season. Johnson & Wales improving to 18-4, continuing one of the best seasons in program history, one of the top teams in America at the USCAA level. Dave Shook and Corey Glore with you here at Courtside, reminding you to switch over to our men's basketball stream as game number 2 is on the way in just about 5 minutes from now. It's the Bruins and the Centurions from Carolina Christian College. It is the Twin City Classic, part number 2, coming your way here on our men's basketball stream. Signing off, though, from the women's side, I'm Dave Shook. Corey Glore will have the call for you on the other side after this. You heard the game here tonight between the women and Johnson & Wales, 66-48, the final, right here on the Bruins Sports Network from Carolina Sports Live. See you for the men's
Piedmont
game.
International University invites you to an evening of worship with the Vertical Worship Band. Vertical Worship in concert Friday, February 16th, 7 p.m. at Triad Baptist Church in Kernersville. An evening with Vertical Worship, Friday, February 16th, hosted by Piedmont International University. For tickets or more information, Visit piedmontu.edu. Piedmont International University.